I'm Alex Palou, and you're watching SAFEisFAST. It's not only the steering wheel that we use to steer the car, how we brake, how aggressive we brake, and how we do our trail braking into a corner just changes the balance of the car massively. So yeah, we're all the time utilizing that to change the weight of the car.
So each race car is different, of course. You've got cars that rely on downforce, you've got cars that don't rely on downforce so much, and weight transfer is big in all. Effectively, what you do with your pedals, you can manipulate how the car operates in a corner. So you can gain axle grip, whether it's front axle or rear axle.
It's pretty straightforward. On the throttle, you put the weight backwards on the car. Braking, you transfer the weight forwards, and there's always a limit to that. But I think just loading up the tires that you want, you get more grip, and it's pretty intuitive.
For myself, that's very, very important to be able to have that feeling, connection between the steering and your pedal inputs especially. I have this technique called a magic string. It's the relation between your brake pedal or your dominant foot, let's say, and your steering inputs, and always making sure that you're never doing two things at once. So essentially there's a string around your foot, and as soon as you're moving that wheel, it's pulling your foot off the brake pedal.
For example, high-speed corners, you don't really want to do really aggressive weight transfer inputs with your feet, but slow-speed corners you do, just to try and get the car rotated quick without trying to get too much from the tire. So yeah, I think it changes from corner to corner.
There's always this balance of loading the tire enough that it doesn't slip, so we're actually saving the tires, but not loading it too much that is actually damaging the tires. So there's always a balance there.
And they have a long-term memory. If you have a lockup in lap 2, you'll pay for that in lap 30. So everything that the car is doing, moving around, understeering, oversteering, has a direct effect on tires.
At some point, there's a maximum slip angle that a tire can work at, and you always want to be around that slip angle. So if you go over that slip angle and put too much lock in, you lose capability of the tire. So often what is better is to get up to that angle, but then if you still have push in the car or the car is understeering, then you need to manipulate what's happening with the car with other things. You can perhaps try a little bit more trail brake to load the front axle a bit more. It's not always, it's normally never good to just wham a load of lock in.
Also depends on your car setup. How soft is your car? How soft are the springs? Depending on that, you will have a bit more pitch, a bit more dive on the front, which will give you a bit more front end balance, a bit looser rear. So depending on how high your peak pressure is, that will already determine how much front end you will have.
We have to optimize the corner and the performance throughout the corner. You gotta brake quite late and try to bring all the weight on the front to be able to turn actually. Otherwise the car wouldn't turn enough. So in that regard, staying within that friction circle and making sure you create the maximum amount of grip on the front tires to get a nice natural rotation of the car.
If you're very aggressive with the weight transfer with your pedal inputs, you basically generate more tire temp, which creates more tire degradation.
When you have a higher brake input, longer brake input, more pressure, obviously you generate more brake temperature, which directly influences the tire temperature. But at the same time, you will most likely need a bit less steering angle. So it really depends on what the car needs, what the car wants.
Definitely can be pretty aggressive in the beginning of the stint where the tires are at their optimal states. But if you push them too hard, you're going to have a hard time at the end. So you got to find a nice balance there where you don't overload the tires to make them be durable for the long run.
So the car's getting lighter as the stint goes on because we're burning fuel, right? And that has a direct influence on the car balance. Normally when the tank is full, you pick up a little bit more understeer. Depends on the car, obviously. Pick up a bit more understeer, and then as you're burning through the fuel, the car starts to become a little bit more agile and reactive. The understeer levels start to go down.
From lap to lap, let alone day to day or stint to stint, everything changes. The track is an evolving creature. We see it at Sebring, for example. The line changes as the track changes. So you've always got to adapt. Whether the tire pressure is changing, whether the tire temp, it changes all the time. And especially a good endurance driver, you recognize what changes. And it's effectively what grip is available to you. at different points.
The car has always a limit of what it can do just with the steering, and then you just basically giving more potential for the tires that you want, and that's all about grip, that's all about speed, and the more grip you have, the more grip you extract from the car, the faster you go.
So guys, don't forget to subscribe, click that like button for more driver tutorials.
And let us know in the comments what you would like to see next.